Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, Asking the Entrepreneur Who Owns One. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed about owning your own business, then this is a show to listen to. And our next guest is Karol Mercurio, who is a franchise consultant for franchise. Hey Karol, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, how are you today?
Good, Karol. Karol, joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, who is also the president of Diamond Financial Services in New Jersey. And Don works with prospective franchisees when they're ready to finance their franchise. And I know you wanted to say hi to Karol, Don.
Yeah, hey, Karol. We appreciate you coming on the show, of course. And I don't know if Marty told you, but I'm very familiar with your company and worked with many franchise consultants over the last few years. So I really feel your company is a real solid organization. And it's really had a big impact in the franchise industry, and you're just changing people's lives. So I think it's really great what you're doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're very proud of what we've accomplished, and I was one of the first consultants entering into the system.
Wow.
I've been with them now for almost 7 years, and I've watched our company grow, and we like to think that we're the best of the best within the industry. Thank you.
I think you're probably right. I work with some of the other consulting companies, and all the people at Franchise are all very solid. Everyone's had such a solid business and franchise background, a lot of the franchise consultants, and so I think that's probably helped by you guys are leaders.
And that's part of the criteria of becoming a consultant with franchise is that you had to have a minimum of a certain number of years of actual franchising experience.
Right, and that's important. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Karol, I want to, again, thank you for coming on the show today. Congratulate you on the success and growth of franchise. I've been following your company a long time as well. We have an exciting show today because Karol makes dozens of presentations each year called Choosing the Right Franchise. And if you're listening to the show live or you're going to listen to it on the audio archives, you can actually click a link on our show page called Show Resources, and a really nice PowerPoint presentation will pop up that Karol created, and you can kind of follow along. So looking forward to that as well. Karol, can you tell us what you were doing before joining franchise? I know you have a pretty strong resume.
Yeah, my involvement in franchising, I guess, is a little dumb luck, and it's the right place at the right time. And back in the day, I was a single mom raising 2 daughters, and was very involved in my community and nonprofit organizations, and wound up being the president of this organization. And I realized, wow, there's a lot of things that I could probably do. So I started to look for a part-time job, and I got involved with a company called Nutrisystem. And I started with them as a part-time weight consultant at a whopping $4 an hour, plus commission, and that was back in 1982. And within a very short period of time, the corporate office recognized my sales achievements and offered me a corporate position. And this was like a real big thing for me here.
Right.
And before I knew it, I was starting to travel all over the country. I was responsible for 50 of their stores, helping their centers increase their revenues. And from there, I moved through the ranks of that company and wound up in the training department, working directly with franchisees and the corporate stores, and realizing how much money I made these people during this time. They were making far more money than I was. And then after the demise at that time of Nutrisystem, and I was in the position where many people that I work with are being downsized, and what do I do next? But went through different opportunities in franchising community, and at the end kind of wound up selling a franchise. And that was a great experience for me, seeing it from the franchisor's perspective, because that's what I was, now working with candidates that go through that same experience. And then I got this wonderful opportunity, a brand new company with Franchise, and took the opportunity to be a pioneer, to be a part of that company, and I never looked back. I've learned a lot, and having the opportunity now to be self-employed has probably been the greatest experience of my life. And I'm one of those people that believe that life is experiential. You can't really know what it's like until you've experienced it yourself. So I certainly don't pass judgment if people don't have the courage to do it.
Sure.
But once you do it, for me, I could never go back into the corporate environment again. It would be just very, very
difficult. You really gained a lot of your early confidence from selling.
Right.
From selling, yeah. In fact, I taught sales for about 10 years of my career.
Wow.
And, selling isn't for everyone, and those people are very afraid of it. And we'll talk about that, too, because that's a huge component in selling a franchise if you're not comfortable in the sales arena.
Right, absolutely. Awesome. That's an inspirational story. Again, for our listeners, if you're listening to the show, click on the link called Choosing the Right Franchise, and Karol created this fantastic presentation. I thought, Karol, we'd dive into slide 2 of your presentation and slide 3, which it kind of gets into franchise statistics. And Don and I, it's so hard to keep up with these statistics, Karol, because, the franchise community is constantly changing and growing and expanding, But did you want to go over that first?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because there's only a couple of points here that are really, more impactful than others.
Right.
And these statistics, by the way, are not current, so they're probably even better than what you're seeing right now.
Okay.
Because these numbers aren't published that frequently. But,
right.
There's more than about 175,000 franchises representing about 75 different industries. So believe it or not, there is life after food.
Absolutely.
It's kind of interesting. In the 7 years that I've been doing this, I have never once placed a candidate into a franchise that they expected to be in.
That's interesting.
And that's probably the most rewarding part of my job, because people come with preconceived notions, and as you mentioned, they gravitate to what's familiar to them, hobbies, interests, things like that. But oftentimes they're not a good fit. So there is definitely life outside of food. And if you go down towards the bottom, where you look at after 5 years, more than 80% of non-franchise businesses fail.
Right.
So that's a huge number, and we'll talk about why. And after 5 years, 92% of franchise businesses are still operating.
That's fantastic.
And this is an interesting statistic because I find it very interesting how people perceive themselves. But 94% of franchisees themselves consider themselves successful.
Yeah, I've seen that one before too, Karol. Yeah, and I think that's important too.
It is, because success means different things to different people.
Right.
There are people that could be very happy making $40,000, $50,000 a year, and there's others that would just never tolerate that. So you have to pick the right opportunity. It's going to meet not just your personal goals, but your income potential as well.
You have to like what you're doing, and most of the time that'll turn into making more money. So.
Oh, definitely. And, the truth is that franchising really isn't for everyone. Michael Gerber, one of your guests who is one of my heroes, so to speak. I love his book. I recommend his book all the time. And as he says, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and what he calls a technician.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and we'll go into that if you want to move forward in
Sure, absolutely. We'll go to the next slide, and that's slide 4, Karol says. That's all great, but...
Do you have what it takes? And that's really what this presentation will help people do. When I do this presentation live, it takes about 2 hours, and, there are people at the end of the presentation who will run to the front door and can't get out fast enough. They're scared to death. Or you have those folks that just linger on because they really want to learn more and educate themselves to see if this is the right fit for them. But there's a lot to figure out, before you actually can pull the trigger and make that decision. And as you mentioned just previously, the due diligence is imperative. You have to do a good job of figuring that out. Is it the right connection personally, and are you connecting with a company that you feel is a comfortable marriage between the two of you?
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's what we're going to do is help determine if this is, in fact, the right path to explore. And then we can move on to motivation.
Okay.
And, for me, I think motivation is really, really a major component of this whole process.
I agree.
If you're not motivated to do this, don't do it. If somebody tells you should do it for a variety of different reasons, but it's not your own passion, you probably won't do well at it. And, there's two different types of motivation. There's positive motivation and there's negative motivation. So you have to think of it, is it an inspiration? Are you inspired to do this, or are you desperate to do this? There's a big difference here.
Absolutely.
Are you, running from something, or are you running towards something?
Right.
And for me, I work with a lot of folks that have been downsized, and they're in transition in life, and I certainly can relate to it. But they may go to looking at a business because they can't find a job, or maybe lesser positions are offered to them, less money, less title, or maybe their severance is about to end and they need to make some decision quickly. Bad choice.
Right.
It's not a good reason to buy a business. That's
like a last resort type of decision. So you can quickly determine part of your services is finding out that motivation level pretty early on.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I won't move forward in our consultation until that candidate can tell me what their reason is.
Right.
And it's not just because, I want control over my destiny. Who doesn't? Everybody does.
That's true.
They want to make more money. Who wouldn't?
Right, absolutely.
It has to go layers deeper than that, or as I look at it, having a burning desire. Or I'll add to that a little pain. If you can't relate to the pain, then there's no reward at the end.
Absolutely.
And going into business for yourself can be painful. With franchising, of course, it's a little bit easier because you have all the support. But it's still, you're starting a business from scratch.
That's
and you
have
have
to
to really want it.
About. Right.
Sorry?
Right. We always talk about that, that there's no guarantee of success, but if you follow the system, work hard, look at the stats we just went over. I mean, the failure rate's so low. And then with getting the right consultation from someone like yourself, and, you should be okay.
Well, and it's true. And, the systems that are in place with franchising are the major reasons why people gravitate to franchising. But if you're not the personality to follow a system, and you're more of that entrepreneur, as Michael Gerber would say, the best way to describe it is you can't paint the golden arches green.
Right.
It just won't work. Either you follow the system and you'll be successful or not. But most importantly, there has to be a motivation. And everyone's motivation is different. The way I help people see things is if you look down the road, say, the next 3-5 years from today, how do you see your life being different, if at all?
Right.
What do you want to accomplish? And for some people, it might be doing things that they've just missed doing, like having the freedom to play golf, or, having the money to buy a boat and taking their family on it and being with their family and having that quality time that they just don't have in their current world.
That's interesting.
So you consider that positive motivation because that's the whole big picture of success in business, working hard, and then having all that personal stuff on the side.
Oh, yeah. What's the end result look like? What is it that you want to accomplish by being in business for yourself? I mean, what is your burning desire? Where is the pain now? I mean, if you look at your current situation today, I'll have people that I'm working with that are making, well over six-figure incomes, and they want to leave their job and start something new. And that's a sticking point for me, because why would you want to do that?
Right.
Why do you want to leave a fairly high-paying position for the unknown? And there has to be a reason. There's got to be something other than controlling destiny or, having a new challenge. There has to be something deeper than that, layers deeper, that really would make you walk away from a job that's somewhat secure to the unknown. And that's what we spend a lot of time on, really understanding one's individual motivation. And again, it's different for everyone.
Right, absolutely.
Karol, you really become a psychologist almost.
Sure.
Well, as my kids call me, Dr. Karol.
There you go. Oh, that's something.
You're really digging in deep to find out that, just the inner thoughts of people and trying to bring that out. And maybe they've been thinking a little bit, but you help them to bring it out to realize, what's their future going to be.
Yeah, and, it's maybe working less hours, and believe it or not, in franchising, you can do that. It's not all about working retail hours. There are businesses that are more home-based where you don't have to work those retail hours. And some people want to work with their spouse, develop a business for the family, have something to leave as a legacy. It's really, everyone, as I said, is very different in how they approach what their motivational level is. But if there isn't motivation and there isn't a reason why, and if you can't answer that question why, for me, it would be hard to move forward in the process because you're really wasting time.
Right, absolutely. Karol, can you stick around for another segment?
Absolutely.